Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and joining me today we have got Chris and Sarah. Thank you both for joining me on Mothering Sunday. I'm being a terrible son, husband, son-in-law because they're all in the other room chatting about me, asked them to keep it quiet, but probably going to get shouted at in a minute. But anyway, hope everyone's had a good Mothering Sunday, especially everyone who celebrates it, obviously. In this episode, we're going to be covering the exciting 1-1 draw with Grimsby Town and look forward to the draw with Crewe. I mean, the match at Crewe. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit there. Engagement is important. Please join in the discussion with all the likes, shares, retweets, comments. I might not reply to everything. Sometimes I have to bite my tongue, but I do enjoy reading everyone's thoughts. But please keep doing it. And everyone who does it, thank you very much. I didn't write this bit down, but Sarah, you were on about 3 weeks ago. How have you been since?
Not bad, thank you, Mike. How are you?
Good. Very well. I think you've had a birthday since you were on last as well.
I did. It was the day we played Tranmere, so let's celebrate that the better.
It was still a celebration day. I hope it was a good one. And Chris, it was a little bit longer for you. I think beginning of January, actually.
Yes, it was just before the Plymouth match.
Yes, it was.
So, yes.
Oh, yeah, you had props and everything for that one.
I did.
Yeah.
I did because of my Argyle connections. So works. Yeah, props work great for a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
we'll do it video as well.
But yeah, no, I'm well. I managed to break my parkrun PB yesterday, so I had some sporting excitement yesterday, which is great.
That's one of the very few things. That was one of the few things I actually wrote down. I was like, right, I'm going to mention that. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, Chris.
A couple of years since.
It was 9 years. That
Wow.
PB has stood for 9 years. So
wow.
Yes. So
that's very impressive.
So a friend of mine paced me, and I was not an exhausted wreck for tunnel stewarding, which is nice.
Excellent.
Oh, well done. I was actually, because I ran further than I've ever run in one go before yesterday, and I wasn't exhausted, right? So you've done better than me.
Yeah, pardon me. Well done.
I've not been out since August. I've not even set foot outside since August. Part of that is because I've got an old man horrible bronchitis chest, so I'm going to allow myself that. Part of that is just I'm not very good.
You do the school run.
I do the school run, yeah. I do walk very fast.
School walk.
But I haven't been running. Ladies' side, just in was a 0-0 draw, which obviously gives us another extra point and helps everyone growing. So well done, everyone there. Mm-hmm. The Crewe coach is full up. So anyone who wanted it, you haven't got it. Which I think is brilliant. I do love that fact that, yes, we got smaller coaches available, but we're actually having to say, no, you can't come on the coach because we've sold out to a team that is not doing brilliant. So I think that's really, really good. Do book the Forest Green one. Off the top of my head, I think it's 25 quid. I can't remember, but I think it's about 25 quid. And they've just announced they're doing a raffle of a Ross Lafayette match-worn shirt. So some people won't even know who Ross is, but hey, it's worth doing anyway. But yeah, definitely support those coaches if you can. The other bit of news I had down was that Chris has done a personal best. So we've already covered that. And the flare. I know people love flares. I know lots of people don't love the flares. I'm in the don't love the flares camp. And also the fact is it's looking like, I think Tim said, it's potentially a 5-figure fine. That does not include decimal points. So that's going to be a 10 grand plus fine. So yes, your flare was amazing. It was wonderful. We all really, really enjoyed it, but we could probably do with the money instead. So
and it's illegal.
And it's illegal. It was banned. I know none of the shops or online places frame it as it's illegal. And it's like it's a football celebration, blah blah blah, and loads and loads of clubs annoyingly retweet pictures of these derbies and flares showing in the crowd, and it's like, don't. It's you can't do it. If you get caught, you can face stadium bans, so it's just not worth it. And they're shit. I'm sorry.
Well, can I just?
They messed with my chest.
Yeah. So can I just speak as the boring person who has been trained in how to handle flares, and I've had to handle flares from time to time. They are not fun because, like, if you've come in and you're having to handle it, you don't know what you're dealing with. So you have to kind of like, so you're having to pick it up with a picker. You've got people who are being affected who have breathing difficulties. And it can also as well be kind of like a fire hazard. I mean, I've seen someone's jacket get burnt by a flare. So like that was at Wembley. There's somebody chucked a flare, and it hit the guy in front of me, and I could see his jacket got kind of like burn marks on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry to be boring, but please don't.
Yeah, work out some water-based solution that can make a big loud pop and fire up coloured water in the air or something, or something to feed the pigeons. I don't know, but they
bring in a balloon. Wait.
I'll get my hair wet. If I get my hair wet, I'll be very close.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, that's not high on my list of priorities. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care about my hair getting wet because my eyebrows dry very quickly. So.
And also, I have to run. I or a colleague have to run across with a sand bucket.
Yeah,
those things are not light.
No.
So we're having to run across, deal with it, and also knowing that we as stewards are going to kind of like get feedback from the officials.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the fines come in, and the more it happens, the fines build up in severity. So it's just not worth it. And obviously, there is a whole thing of the club do want to engage and make the experience better for everyone. And Tim's actually put a comment out saying, come engage with the club. Tell us why you think this betters the experience. Let's see what we can work out. But it can't be flares because we get in trouble. You can get personally in trouble as well. And no pyro, no party doesn't quite fit because, yes, as with many things I've said in the past, your happiness of setting off a flare inflicts upon me and my happiness and other people who can't breathe. And you might think it's overreaction, but it's not. If I was standing anywhere closer, I would have been quite a bit difficulty yesterday. Also on a similar-ish subject, Graham come up and had a little chat with me yesterday, and he said he wanted to kind of get a message across that stewards have been asked to kind of join in, engage, get crowd going, and they've had some quite negative feedback from people where they're trying to kind of G everyone along, and they've had a bit of negative feeling. Not Leanne, because everyone loves Leanne, but some of the other stewards have had a bit of negative feedback when they're trying to join in or anything with a chance, and it's like they've been asked to do this. They've been trying to ask to make the experience a bit better and help along, and it works really well at the away end, as we know, but it doesn't really work at our end. But it's something they're trying, so give them a little bit of support there, or give feedback of why you think it's not working, not appropriate. But that's what they've been asked to do, so don't have a moan at the stewards about it. Anyway, I've got off my soapbox. Let's talk about the match. I got 10 out of 11, which is closer than I've ever been legally, because normally I get the lineup. But what were your thoughts kind of ahead of the match? Sarah, did you see the lineup? What were your expectations sort of after the exciting Tranmere match? But how were you kind of feeling ahead of the game when you saw the team sheet?
Do you know what? I didn't really think about what I thought the lineup was going to be because it's really unpredictable these days, which I quite like. And after Tranmere, I didn't really think it was. I don't think that really kind of changed anything for me. When I saw the lineup, again, I'm not sure I even paid much attention to it before the game, to be honest with you. so having a really busy day. But yeah, I've given you a really long-winded answer that tells you absolutely nothing.
That's absolutely fine. So to expand upon that answer, we'll go to Chris, who doesn't really get to see the lineup before the matches because he's too busy. So, Chris, what did you think of the lineup?
Well, sometimes I get it thrust into my hand, fun fact: it was delayed today yesterday because we've got a new format for the lineup.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
because we don't fit. The 4-4-2 was just outdated now, wasn't it?
Well, no, yes. But anyway, just how we print it off. I don't quite understand. And also, as well, it was printed at a bit of a jaunty angle. Yes. So it was those things I noticed more. But I was glad that my dear old friend Duke McKenna was on there because I think he's great. He's also very friendly with the fans off the pitch, and like I'm just very sad that he's a lone player because I would love him around.
Don't fall in love with lone players.
Yeah, it's hard, and I really like him as well. I love watching him play.
Yeah.
But what were you? I mean, for you, was it the must-win game that people have been talking about since what, November?
Absolutely it was. But I also kind of like knew that it was also a must not lose. But though the problem is that so many must win games have kind of like sailed past that I'm just like, I mean, I've been to various degrees reconciled to kind of like what feels like the inevitable since about October time. I just now for matches, I just hope that they pass without incident.
I mean, Sarah, some of us slightly more pragmatic people have been saying for a very long time that these aren't must-win games, and it's kind of proven by the fact they've been saying it since, as I say, before Christmas, as a must-win, and we still haven't won many of them. So they're not all must-wins. But what were you thinking before the match? Was it again? You like we've got to get something from this game?
Yeah, it was a bit of both for me, really, because I mean, like you say, I don't like the idea of must-win games. It puts a lot of pressure on everybody. At the end of the day, if we get 3 points at Notts County that we're not expecting to get, it's the same 3 points as what we get at home to Grimsby, you know? The difference, of course, being that we need teams like Grimsby to drop points if we're gonna stay up. But they're doing quite a good job about themselves against other teams. Doesn't have to be us that takes them. And I know like it is kind of us gaining and them not, and it would close the gap. But I don't think it's always helpful to look at it in those terms, because then you put pressure on yourself and then it's kind of psychological blow if it doesn't happen. I genuinely thought we would do okay yesterday. I didn't really like how things went last week at Tranmere. Thought hopefully we'll come back. We'll come back, like at Notts County. That was brilliant. That was a great game. Don't expect that every week. But I thought hopefully we'll bounce back. And we didn't really do it.
No. I mean, first off, it was a bit scrappy. The ref was a bit odd. There is a comment we'll come back to after the match that you made earlier, Sarah, about referees in the little group and our opinions and our bias of it. But he did seem genuinely rubbish to both teams. There were several chances, things that I was standing next to Dan, and we kind of just both looked at each other and go, how was that not a foul? What was he seeing here?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that sort of thing. It's more like when people are convinced they're only rubbish towards us and not the other team.
But how was the first half for you? A bit scrappy. I know they scored late on, but early on, did you think that we kind of were in it? We were having chances. It was just about breaking through. I mean, they had a couple of 1-on-1s, and Steve kept us in the game again. But Sarah, we'll start with you. How were your thoughts on the first half?
Oh, didn't rate it. I was trying to watch it. I was kind of. It didn't feel. I mean, I went to the match thinking, right, we're going to get something out of this. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, maybe we're not going to get something out of this after all, because it's not really going like I hoped it would go. I totally agree with what you say about Steve. He's been amazing the last few, the few games he's played. And it's like Dino went away and then he came back and he seemed like a different player, and he just kind of seems to have lost some of his zing that he had before when he was with us. Steve Arnold's kind of done the opposite. He's gone away and he's come back and he's been fantastic. So I love him.
Yeah,
he can stick around. But yeah, he was kind of the highlight of the first half. Watching him save those,
save after save after save. Chris, what was your view? You kind of I think we get to watch this from 3 different angles. Actually, this pitch, I've just suddenly realised. So, how was your thoughts on the first half?
Scrappy to the point of being petulant, though I think the second half was even more so. It was, I mean, it wasn't a fantastic advert for League Two football, because and also as well, when the players came out, one player sort of said, "Oh, it's Benidorm," because of the amount of sand that was out there, it was certainly fun. Steve basically got us a point. Because I mean he was just terrific, but I did kind of feel that we were losing a few more of the kind of the matchups, and I, even before they'd scored their goal, I'd said to one of my colleagues that if this was a boxing match, they'd be winning on points.
Fair comment. There were a few moments. There was a couple of conversations between Eastie and Harry Smith, quite animated between themselves. I mean, obviously, I'm always like, we're going to score at some point. We're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And then they scored, and it was like, okay, now we've got to score twice. Okay, but it was difficult. Everyone's heads dropped a little bit. I know Jack, I actually messaged him and said I thought he'd done amazingly to get through 45 minutes, because he did. He was hitting the delicates in the warm-up, and it was quite a long time. And like 5 or 6 minutes later, he was still kind of doubling over and holding himself. And I was like, we might not see him in the second half, to kick off. But I thought he did really, really well. I think he had a little spell where things just weren't going right, and he was chasing to try and correct himself, which he probably would get away with at the other levels, because he's a very good player. I was surprised not to see him in the second half. I hear Steve's point about he wanted Omar to play, and didn't want him to play the full match, so he's kind of intending it anyway. And making a substitution at half time is kind of a free shot, so it doesn't take away one of your opportunities. But how were you kind of feeling after they scored? Were you like, we might as well go home, or did you think we might get this back?
I just felt dejected. I mean, it was also, I mean, it looked a bit like what I described as the Chuckle Brothers Goal, where there was all kind of like, to me, to you, and we'll just leave it, and it was like, well, one of you clear it, one of you touch it. Oh wait, none of you. Bam. So it was just I've seen too many of those this season. Yes. So sad resignation, I think, was my reaction to it.
I have a feeling you're going to hear that phrase "Chuckle Brothers Goal" again, because I suspect that's going to be the clip I put out.
Can see it catching on.
Yeah, but Sarah, what were you at the goal? Were you like, that's it, let's go get our bus now, or were you thinking we could come back into it?
I thought the exact same thing that you said a minute ago. The goal went in, and I went, oh, no, we've got to score 2, and we're not going to score 2. It just could not see where those goals would come from. And I didn't think, oh, that's it, we've lost now. But I thought we could probably claw one back, but I could not see us getting 2 because it just, where was it going to come from?
Exactly, fair enough. I mean, we then get to half time, and someone who supported Sutton for as long as I have made a rookie mistake at half time. I saw Harry Dunn, who was trying to get something from like that area behind the curver. And instead of saying, what are you doing? I said, do you need a hand? And he said, yes. And then I ended up having to drag a goal all the way around past the other end onto the pitch. And I'm like, yeah, that's a rookie. You should have known that from years gone by. Always ask what they're doing before you start offering help. But come out for the second half. We made those substitutions. Chris has had enough. Were you kind of infused at the substitutions? It was obviously a change of formation. Were you thinking, right, we're going for it? Or were you, again, I still can't see where this is coming from?
I will always like a bit of a shake up at half time. In fact, under Steve Morrison, there's been a few occasions I can think of where we've come out the second half looking like a different team. And I don't just mean because we've got a slightly different lineup, but also because there's kind of a renewed vigour in the side. I don't know what he says to them at half time. Sometimes it seems to work. So I was a little bit more optimistic once they came out, and I was like, come on, let's do this. But that kind of fizzled out after a little while.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And Chris has come back. What were your thoughts on the substitutions at half time? A little bit of a change in formation. Did you hope for more than 10 minutes?
It gave me a bit of hope. But yeah, I just but yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, one amazing thing is great to see Omar back on the pitch. Obviously, none of us knew what had happened until he posted up that he had a heart operation. It was like, excuse me, what happened there? I mean, I did make a bid to try and steal his dog because I was like, oh, are you all right? I hope you're good. Who's looking after the dog? And he's like, I'll be back home this evening. Oh, okay. That's the end of that trying conversation, then, isn't it? But he did all right. He's been out for a little while, but he did okay. There were a couple of times, I think, Chris, you mentioned it. I did wonder whether they should be wearing boots or flip-flops. The pitch wasn't the greatest. The ref wasn't the greatest. The lino wasn't the greatest. There was one occasion where the guy was well offside and the lino was running to catch up and clearly wasn't up with it. But for both. And then the big call, a penalty that none of our players appealed for, none of our fans appealed for. No one really knew what was going on. It was just a conversation between the linesman and the referee. And it's like, what is taking so long? We couldn't actually work out what was taking so long. Surely it should be, he's done him, it's a card, or it's a free kick, or it's a penalty, or whatever it should be. But it was a long conversation, and then suddenly a penalty. I mean, what were your thoughts there, Chris? Had you seen it as a penalty, or did you know? You did.
So I couldn't actually. I didn't actually see the incident because it was in a general melee of people, but certainly one of my colleagues sort of reckoned that the lino was trying to give a pen, and I was like, well, I won't say no to that. There was. I mean, certainly the fourth had quite a bit of feedback being given by both management teams, so we were having to kind of keep a slight eye on that, and also every now and again just watching Grimsby players come over to provide some advice to the referee and his assistant.
You're very diplomatic, Chris.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was somewhat chaotic, but yeah. I mean, I don't. Having watched the incident back, I did kind of think we were lucky to get it, but
I mean, looking at Paul's pictures, yeah, that's a clear penalty. He's basically caught the ball.
Yes, but also Harry was
watching the video.
putting on people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
watching the video, Harry's basically thrown one of their players to the. I mean, they were both pulling at each other, but Harry's thrown him to the floor. So you kind of say, well, that did happen before the penalty. But Sarah, what were your thoughts at the time and sort of afterwards seeing it?
Mostly confusion, actually, Mike, because I didn't have a clue. I mean, I was right at the other end, and I was, again, like Chris said, there were a lot of people there, and I couldn't see what was going on. And then I was like, is he giving a penalty? Is he giving a penalty? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then my next thought was, you better not miss it again. You better not miss it. You better not miss it. No pressure, no pressure. Honestly, I didn't want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I had some misgivings.
I considered not watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had misgivings about the whole story about, we give the ball to one player so they can take all the abuse and boos and whatnot, and then they pass it on to another player. But then watching Harry sort of stand there, shoulders back, looking at the crowd yesterday whilst holding the ball, I was like, I do kind of see this now. It's if you've got someone like Harry Smith who just loves all the crowd having a go at him, then yeah, use him to get all that abuse, and he just literally casually tossed it to Charlie to score. Yeah, I mean, with a few minutes left of the game and the obligatory 6 added, it's a great book, by the way, if anyone hasn't read that. But that's a little plug. But I just didn't seem to say, right, we're going for it. So, I mean, we've had games in the past where once we scored, you're like, we can get another one now. And it just didn't feel like it was going to happen yesterday. I mean, what were your thoughts? You're nodding along there, Sarah. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I'd actually messaged a Grimsby friend beforehand saying, it might have been beforehand, it might have been during the first half actually. And I said, don't worry, you're going to get that famous winner that Sutton almost let in the 96th minute. And because I said 96, then he added on 6. I was like, oh God, what have I done? It could have happened as well. It could have happened because I didn't feel like, we were giving it the push that we really needed, because we really did need those points, didn't we? I'm not saying we deserved them, but we really needed them.
No.
And I just didn't feel like. I'm not saying I didn't feel like the players wanted it, because I know they do. And I know that they always do their best, but it just didn't feel like it was really there. Do you know what I mean? There's something missing there.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was going to happen to me, certainly, as well. Chris, what were your sort of thoughts after the the push, the non-push for the goal?
Well, I was just glad that Donovan didn't score against us. I have to say. I was also kind of relieved that he was just as anonymous for Grimsby as he was for us most of last season. But
in fairness, I think he is coming back from injury. So
well, I was going to say it's a little bit harsh.
Yeah. I mean, he has done well for them.
Okay, I haven't been following his career at Grimsby with forensic.
Well, no, I mean,
flourish.
It's funny because it's one of those times where I'm like, oh look, I was right. Donovan scores lots of goals because they play the ball in to his feet ahead of him rather than up round his throat. So look what happens when you play to people's strengths. But did you feel? I think I know the answer to this, but did you feel that the draw was a fair result, Chris?
Yes.
Or
absolutely, yes.
So, do you think it was a fair result?
I kind of feel like we nicked it a bit, but
absolutely, that's what I think as well. It's
okay.
Not a fair result. I think it's one of the points I was going to go to next. Andy said, this is, I think, the first time this season that we've come away from a game going, we've got more than we deserved from that.
I can't disagree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's every few games, Steve. So far, obviously, it's only very short, but the team don't seem to do it. I think it was Morecambe, and then there's this one that they just don't seem to be on it for whatever reason. And I think it's like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 or something. So you can kind of possibly accept that over a longer period, but when we're desperate for everything, it's like, can we get away with that? But I mean, how does it kind of leave things in the grand scheme? We've actually pulled back to Colchester a little bit. Where I think we're 5 points but minus 10 goals. And I know they've got games in hand, but on the points, is it just annoying, Chris? I'm going to go to you because you're shaking your head straight away. Is it just delaying the inevitable, or is it giving us a little bit of... Let me finish the question.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes, the sword of Damocles has been hanging over us. I mean, to the point that we were marking Sarah's birthday earlier on. So it's my birthday, sort of for the Accrington Stanley game. I have decided I am going to spend that elsewhere.
Hang on, that's the game with the gorgeous new shirts.
I know. I'm sad about that, but yes, but I was kind of like, I just rather be somewhere else. So,
yeah, no,
yeah.
I do hear, because with mine being in January, I kind of do look at the league table and go, oh, we could technically have the magic 50 points by my birthday. This year it was not so much. You could have the magic 50 points by my birthday. But Sarah, what about you? Does it keep that little glimmer of hope alive, or are you still like, just get on with it, just finish us off, please?
Listen, I've always got a glimmer of hope. It's not over till the fat lady sings, but I did have my we're not staying at moment last Saturday, and it's quite hard to come back from that once you've had that thought and you kind of feel it in your bones. But no, I'm going to go to every game, as I always do, and I'm going to support that team. I'm going to get behind them because I don't know for 100% certain what's going to happen. It's not mathematically impossible. I don't think it's going to happen, but some weirder things have happened in football. So you just got the players have just got to keep trying their best. We've just got to keep supporting them, and then who knows? Maybe my little duck's going to be a good one.
Yeah. But that is, I know people be annoyed, but that's something I've been saying all season, is this guy's could suddenly put together this run, and you go, well, what were we worried about? It hasn't happened. We haven't on 2 in a row. But it could happen.
It could.
Yeah. It's not probable, but it's... Yeah.
I could win the lottery. I couldn't because I haven't bought a ticket, but,
you could
find a lottery ticket,
Yeah, you might find a winning lottery ticket. I mean, someone might find the winning 50-50 ticket from yesterday because I dropped 3 of them somewhere, and I don't know where the bloody hell they are. So if one of them have won, I'll be furious because it's the only time I've ever... I'll be like, ooh, no one's claimed it. Oh, damn it, where are my tickets? Go on, Chris.
I was going to say, a friend of mine is a Carlisle fan, and he reminds me of the Jimmy Glass moment, where kind of like, so for folks who are not familiar, Carlisle were playing my other team, Plymouth Argyle, and like they were needing, I think, at least a point in the final game of the season, and they were losing. And basically, Jimmy Glass, who was their goalkeeper at the time, went up in injury time and scored.
I think it was an emergency signing as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't their goalkeeper. Yeah. I think he'd only just joined them or something.
But anyway, it was a miracle.
Do you remember a couple of seasons ago, Bristol Rovers needed to win 7-1 to get 7-0 to get automatic promotion, and they won 7-0.
Yes.
Same thing,
Yeah, there's so much that can happen, but it is as the weeks tick by, more and more people are going, just look at that National League again. There was someone, I didn't write it down who it was, but someone did point out that actually in our 126-year history, the majority of it have been below the National League. So yes, we're here now, but the National League isn't actually a disaster. Obviously, there's lots of other issues where people's jobs are at stake, and there's financial sides as well. But from a purely football thing, it's not the worst that could ever happen to us.
Well, that's it. It's not being in the National League that will be hard for us. It's the actual relegation itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the changes we'd have to make, and the, like you say, people's jobs, and you know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that I just find so sad at the moment, because I mean I think because I'm more pessimistic than you both, but I mean I am just kind of like going in, and like I mean I've experienced sort of like, you know, a few years ago in my career I've experienced redundancy, and I've experienced a company kind of like sliding, and it kind of feels a bit like that. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything. But it just, I don't come away elated. So yesterday I was relieved with the point. But.
Yeah, the little bit of hope is getting less and less each week. But you never know. You never ever know.
Well, we're on the out of road.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, we're not quite to the point where we're needing snookers, but I mean, we're not.
No, we're not. I mean, I said it's 5 points with the goal difference. It's really 6 points, but that is only 2 wins. But so after the game, try and pick up on people's things. There was obviously Sam and his comment, which is fair. The first time we got more we deserved. Lots of comments on the referee by Grimsby fans, and
by their management as well.
Yeah, lots and lots about the poor performance, and it's the terrible performance overall from everyone. Then lots and lots of comments on the pitch, which is odd because obviously we've all saw the Bradford pitch. But in fairness, I kind of get the comments of, okay, but Bradford's pitch isn't our concern. Why are we comparing ourselves to the worst pitch we've ever seen? Just because we're not that bad doesn't mean that our pitch is good. But historically, our pitch has always been bad at this time of year, apart from when we had the magic carpet. So it's something to do with the area we're in.
We've never paid as much for it before, though, have we?
No,
I think this pitch has kind of bitten off more than it can chew with all the games played on it.
Too many games is on there. Some comments on Jack's halftime substitution. There was one in particular I saw which was saying that playing an academy player in the biggest game of our season is ridiculous. It's amateur hour. But he's a very good player. I don't think you could say he was any better or any worse than others on the pitch. I mean, the other, pragmatically, who else are we going to play there? Because clearly Ben can't play. Clearly there's something wrong with Louis not able to play at the moment. Kizzy's already filling in there. And Amari couldn't have done the whole match anyway. So I've done it again. Omar couldn't have done the whole match anyway. So I'm not sure what other option we had. I mean, if we'd stuck Jackson in centre midfield or Sam Hart in centre mid, everyone would go, "No, that's ridiculous. You can't play a fullback in centre mid." So it's in defence. I'm having a mare here. But
you do well.
Sarah, one thing I wanted to go is the referee. Now, you said something quite similar to what I was saying, is that yes, all these decisions go against us, but we notice these decisions a lot more when we lose 1-0 or 2-1, because we go, if that decision had gone for us, or if he hadn't given that penalty, or if he had given that penalty, we would have got something out of the game. If we're winning games 2-3-0, you don't think of those decisions because you've won the game, you're moving on. But you were kind of making the comment on the perceived bias, and it was quite an interesting thing about saying, well, we're automatically biased. It doesn't matter what we're doing, we're going to be biased against Sutton United, for Sutton United, and we're going to take everything as a slight. Do you want to kind of explain a bit more on that, or did I waffle too much?
It's kind of why I try not to comment on referees too much, because I know that I go there to watch Sutton United, support Sutton United. I'm there because I want Sutton United to win games. So anything that goes against Sutton, I'm going to be disappointed with, and anything that goes in Sutton's favour, I'm going to be happy with. maybe that'll be. It might be tinged with something or other if I don't think we deserve it, but I'll still take it, you know. So I just think I can't remember what point you were making now, Mike. But it's. There have been some very dubious decisions made in our matches this season, but you know, it's like you said, we're not going to remember those if you know, like you said, we're going to remember the ones that go against us if we think they might have contributed to us not winning games or scoring goals or drawing. But if the same decision is made against us when we're not in that position, like you say, if we're winning, we're not even going to notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I mean, if we do, we're going to forget about it within 5 minutes of the game ending because we win the game anyway.
Yeah, assuming the next referee gives one against us.
Yeah, and dodgy decisions in our favour, we might admit that they're dodgy decisions in our favour, but they never stick in your memory, do they?
No.
So, because of how your memory works, what's going to stick is the dodgy decisions that go against us that could have contributed to us not getting something. And over time, that's going to build up into like quite a strong feeling that we never get anything and the refs are biased against us. It's human nature. I'm not blaming anyone for feeling that way, but that's how it works, and it's not actually what's happening, is it?
Yeah, and everyone does it, and I know people will say, "Oh, I don't do that." But as soon as you book a holiday or you look for a holiday, everyone goes to like the TripAdvisor or whatever, and always goes to look at the 1-star reviews before they look at any of the others. They look at the bad ones to go, right, how bad is this? Or the Amazon reviews. I mean, some of them you have to because you've got to try and work out, well, hang on, how these fake. But you look at the 1-stars to go, let's just see this. So it's just the way our brains are wired to go, well, what's the worst? I mean, I've done that to go. And I've read some of the 1-star reviews on TripAdvisor gone, do you know what? If that's what people are complaining about, we're going there because that doesn't sound too bad at all. But Chris, what do you kind of think on? I mean, you see the referees in a slightly different way. With you have to guide them off.
Yeah,
but
because
what do you kind of think of that.
Yeah, I kind of think that. I mean, certainly with my role, I'm often having to kind of like sort of deal with upset opposition folk. So I think there are times where I look at something and I go, yeah, we were lucky. I mean, but Sarah, when you were speaking about lucky decisions in our favour, it made me think back to the game when we beat Port Vale. Sort of like a couple of seasons ago.
That was cracking game, wasn't it?
Because they were, it was a fantastic game, but they were furious to the point that I had to guard the referee and officials for half an hour after the game. So I think I don't think that there. I can see why people might kind of go, there is a bias, and you made a very valid point of like we only see how the referee handles this particular opposition side for 2 seasons. So we don't really know how the referees are handling them, kind of for the rest of the season, and I think there's a few kind of like rubbish officials in our division, but also as well, that there are some who, as soon as I see them, I kind of know, right, we're going to have a good we're going to have a good day. Not that we're going to win, but it's just at least I know that I'm not going to be having to kind of like protect them from their decisions.
Fair enough.
So,
I mean, you've exactly proved Sarah's point there, because when you said about the Port Vale thing, I'm sitting there going, what decisions was bad in that game? That was a great game. So obviously there was something, but I genuinely can't remember. But there probably was something really controversial that I've now blanked out because we won.
It was the goal, the manner of the goal right at the end.
Right.
I think that they, I think that they felt that there'd been a foul. in the build up
Fair
to
enough. Fair
it
enough.
from memory. But it was certainly for me it was a welcome to League Two kind of moment. It was like I never had to guard the referees in the National League South.
That was when everything was nice and sunny and beautiful. Let's move on quickly. We have got Crewe on Tuesday night. Crewe are doing super well this season. They're nicely in the playoffs. They're not that. I mean, they're only 5 points behind the Autos, which is funny because when we say we need 5 points, it's like, oh my god, we need 5 points. And when the teams up there need 5 points, it's only 5 points. But it's easier to come by when you're winning games. How do you think we're going to do? I mean, we got away with one, so that might be what the players need to hold on to. Is okay. Well, we should have lost and probably lost quite heavily, but we got a draw out of that. Do you think that's going to give them any motivation, any psychological boost? Is there any straws I can clutch at? Sarah, we'll start with you.
I think the best straw to clutch at might be Notts County. Because that went along than expected.
Yeah.
Can we not play them with three?
No, we can't. Apparently, that's in the rules. We can only play them twice.
That's not fair, is it? Anyway, I don't know. I think it's best to kind of go into each game afresh and just sort of try and see it as its own, self-contained event in its own right, really. Because we're not getting any momentum this season, are we?
No.
We are not picking up any momentum whatsoever. So it's probably best just to see it as like, right, here is a game of football we've got to play, and we're going to win it. Which isn't my prediction, by the way.
We are pushing a rock up a hill and then keep stopping for a little rest as the rock rolls back down behind us. Chris, what hope can you give me for the Crewe match?
None.
That's what he's I was like, he's going to say none. That's what he's going to say. You're not predictable, Chris.
Sorry.
That was an obvious one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right.
Sorry.
That's all right. Fair enough. We will do the prediction league. People are picking up points because obviously they're not going for Sutton wins like some idiot has done all season. So Chalmers and JR got it spot on this week. So well done to them. And it helps Chalmers close the gap to just 16 points. Now, that sounds a lot further away than anything should, but it's 6 points in each different round. So 16 points isn't that far behind at all. But Andy got 3 points and Paul did 2 points. So Andy is topped by 1 point, but Andy and Paul still have a bit of a gap. But Chalmers is hot on your tail. So come on, Chalmers. So anyone who wants to join in, please do so. The code might be on the screen. Yes, it is on the screen now. So you can scan the code. Obviously, you're not going to do very much this season. There's only a few games left. But get yourself joined in, and I'll be sending out an email at the start of next season to get everyone on board ASAP. It's just literally filling in a Google form. But we will wrap it up. It's been slightly depressing, but then the whole season it's been slightly depressing. I think I've done well to remain as positive as I have done for the whole season. But we're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. We appreciate everyone's attention. I do have the marker. There we go. Follow, like, share at Sutton Podcast on social medias. Subscribe on your favourite podcast platform and subscribe all the episodes. Until next time, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Sarah. Thanks everyone for listening and giving me any time on Mothering Sunday. I'm off to make some more tea and provide more cake or whatever it is. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Oh, sorry, Sarah, I didn't make the cake. I just bought them from the shops. So very bad. Yeah, very, very, very bad person. It's just like, yeah, I'll just buy them. But we are back on Wednesday. At the moment, it's Andy Kay flying solo, unless someone else wants to jump in. So get those questions and thoughts sent in, and take care. We'll catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.